Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Alright, today I'll be your judge, jury, analyst. And this is going to analyze Ultra Premier Cup ABB teams part 1. So the reason why this is part 1 is I actually didn't analyze ABB teams on my last analysis when this was first out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this into 2 parts. So I'm going to do a part 1, a pre-analysis, what I think before it updates, and when it updates. So there's going to be 2 parts to this. So this is the pre-analysis, and then there's part 1's going to be basically before it updates, and second one's before when the rankings update again. So if you like a team from here and you're practicing with it, or if you want to try it out, you could try this out before it goes to the next one. Basically, these teams are going to be either just as effective, or I think they'll still work as well as the next one, because I don't foresee things updating too much. Other than the fact that XLs pretty much dominate Ultra Premier Cup. Again, if you would like to, please contribute to ppoke.com if you can. And now we're going to look at the top performers. And again, this video will analyze the top ABB teams for Premier Cup Ultra Part 1. Again, when this updates, I will make a new one, but just in case you do like one of these, I'm going to put it out here. Now, here's a disclaimer. These are really expensive. Half of these, actually, I think a majority of these teams that are in the top teams all have XL Pokemon. So, if you hate Ultra League, it's for good reason, because XL Pokemon are very powerful, and they essentially run over Ultra Premier, or if you don't have one, you're at a severe disadvantage. I will be doing a budget picks video, but I can only hope that those budget picks can actually do well for you, just because things like Umbreon XL are incredibly oppressive. Anyways, let's get started on the top 5 ABB teams for the Ultra Premier Cup Part 1. Alright, so the 5th top team I have here is Venusaur, Dripblim, XL, and Gyarados. I'm guessing Gyarados is your save switch. Gyarados is a pretty okay save, so I would say Gyarados is a pretty okay save switch, or you could use Dripblim. Either one will be fine. Just be careful of electric types, which is pretty much this team's worst nightmare. That's why you have Venusaur in the lead. You have Venusaur to take out the electric type in the front, and then you have the 2 Pokemon in the back. Simple formula, not too spicy, nothing much you could really do, but anyways, as you see here, this is number 5. Now, this team has a 515 rating, I believe, so it's not as good as the top 3 in this list. However, if you want something that's pretty cheap, both of these Pokemon are really cheap, except for Dripblim XL, of course. As you see here, good coverage, good bulk, extremely safe, and extremely consistent. This team will deal a lot of damage, and it's very safe against the entire meta, so this team can work very well for you. Again, the biggest thing that's going to probably nuke this team, just by first look, is electric types. As you see here, this team does very well against the entire meta, save for the fact that if you get something like, if you get like a Talonflame, which basically erases Venusaur, but again, you have Gyarados, Dripblim, and Venusaur to take out. You have a save switch, and as you see here, it does very, very well against the overall meta. Very, very well. Especially against a Dragon Lead, usually, as you see here, there's 2 things that take out each one. Now, the biggest problem you can face is probably going to be, like I said, electric types or Obama Snow XL. So, as you see here, electric types, and ice types. Electric types, ice types in Mamoswine, Alolan Ninetales is extremely powerful as an XL for Premier Ultra. And even things like Alolan Sandslash, Obama Snow, etc. In other words, there's a lot of good things that can take you out. If you do see a Magnezone, you can still beat Magnezone, you can still beat Obama Snow. Just mind that it's going to be very hard. If you see Obama Snow, try to save switch into Gyarados, do as much damage as you can. Otherwise, you're going to have to bank that Dripblim, and Venusaur can possibly take out Obama Snow. Very high threat score for this team. Again, with Ice and Electric, I wouldn't say they're super, because GBL is blind. You're likely to see either one of those types, or if you get it's even worse, you probably might see a Crustle. Crustle in the back can effectively just mash through Dripblim and Gyarados if you don't have shields, etc. So, again, just be careful of those 3 typings. This team can do very well. If you don't like it, there's the other 4 that you have on this list. Either way, this team does go positive, so if you like how this team looks, I can see it do very well as long as you avoid the other 2 types. But again, this is pretty much going to catch the electric type lead, and then you have essentially kind of a double save switch, because both Dripblim and Gyarados are pretty good at save switches in Ultra Premier, minus that you see an electric type in the back. Team number 4, as far as ABB goes, features a Talonflame XL lead and double grass. I've kind of seen something like this in Great League, but this is a very scary team. Okay, I think it can work really well, but here's the problem. You get a fire type in the back, mainly your lead, as in Talonflame XL, you're kind of dead. Same thing with ice types. Again, Alolan Ninetales with Power Snow is very strong, as well as, let's see, you got other ice types. Flying types can also give you a problem, so Skarmory does take your back row for a ride. So, you get Skarmory XL, if you get Ice Flying, like again, Skarmory XL, it's going to be a lot of trouble for you in the back. As you see here, this team does have good bulk, only good safety, because you really don't have a safe switch with this team. I'm guessing Chestnut's going to be your safe switch. You could try Venusaur, but again, both your back row get trucked by a Skarmory. So, if you don't see Skarmory in the lead, if it's in the back, you're kind of screwed. Good coverage and good consistency. This team has a 517 rating, so it does barely well than the 5th team on here. So if you don't like this team, don't worry about it. But these 3 Pokemon are pretty cheap, minus the Talonflame XL, which is in the lead. As you see here, very interesting team. However, it has a pretty... The interesting thing is it has a pretty low threat score. As you see here, it has a 627. It actually does really well against a lot of common meta things. As you see here, there's not a lot of core breakers that will take you out in the back. Minus Empoleon... And I would say things like Dragonite. So Dragonite can give you a problem as well, just because all 3, like, it basically resists all 3 of your attacks, except for Venusaur's Sludge Bomb. So I can see this team doing well. However, just because Dragonite's a pretty popular lead, you could possibly see Empoleon and Water leads as well. I wouldn't rate it the highest, but again, it has a 517 rating, so it can do very well in this meta. But if you don't have a Talonflame XL, I wouldn't try this out. There are better teams out there that you could try for ABB. Team number 3, these teams are actually rated very, very high. So the next 3 are very powerful, and they should do pretty well for you in this cup. So these are very good, and they're also very common. So this right here, we have Abomasnow XL lead, and then we have double water, which is basically Gyarados and Kingdra. Kingdra will be your safe switch, and then the thing about it is this team has a 551 rating, so it's very, very powerful. It's actually about the 6th most powerful team in PvPoke for Part 1. So this actually is a very, very powerful team. The double water archetype has done very, very well, or double dragon to be put out there, but technically this is like double water, as you see here. As you see here, it has double Dragon Breath in the back. So instead of having Dragonite, you have Gyarados, and instead of having, let's see, was Empoleon double Dragon, and then basically you just have a grass lead. And Abomasnow XL is very, very powerful. So this team I can see this team doing really, really well. Not a lot of coverage. Anything with double dragon doesn't have a lot of coverage. At the same time, if you do see a steel lead, you're going to hate life because Dragon Breath is resisted. As you see here, it's pretty safe and does a lot of damage. Only good bulk though, just because this team isn't particularly super bulky. Mainly Gyarados and Kingdra in the back. As you see here, you do really well against a lot of top meta picks. However, go down here, you have a lot of core breakers. A lot of core breakers. Mainly, remember when I mentioned to you those... Yeah, the steel types. Yeah, there you got Magnezone. You have Berserker XL. You also have Alolan Sandslash. And it's just a night. If you basically steel types give you a nightmare. And even if you do safe switch, unless you get the debuff with Kingdra, like it could be really rough if you get a Magnezone in the back or something of that sort. Also, if you do get an electric type in the back, mainly Ampharos or Magnezone in the back, you're in a lot of trouble, so be very, very careful. This team, otherwise, if you could avoid it, does really well. However, it does have a ridiculously high threat score, just because a lot of popular meta, as you see here up top, can take you out, so just be careful of those. Otherwise, if you can avoid those or take out the steel type, forbid they don't have double steel, you should be okay, and you should do really well in this meta. Again, it has a 551 rating, so I can see that Kingdra safety is extremely powerful. Anyways, if you get the debuff, you can flip a lot of matchups, and Abomasnow and Gyarados do big damage. So, again, I think this is the 6th most powerful team, so I think it will do very well in this newer meta. And here's team number 2. Team number 2 is actually the 4th most powerful team in Ultra League Part 1 for Premier Cup. So this is actually the 4th most powerful team, featuring Shadow Champ lead, and Double Steel in Empoleon and Berserker. This team is basically tailor-made to destroy the Double Dragon line. Yeah, basically just because it's Empoleon Double Dragon, so Machamp counters the Empoleon lead, and then the back row kind of Empoleon not so much, but your back row still gives everything a hard time. For example, if they switch King Leader into you, you could cross chop, do big damage, and switch to Berserker and start doing something. So there's a lot of it's a it's a good team. As you see here, what I mean by newer meta from watching the last team, there's not really a newer meta. I mean the newer XL meta. XL Galvantula is a nightmare, and it's going to give you a hard time with this team. But as you see here, this team is basically done for damage. It doesn't have a lot of bulk. It's pretty safe, good coverage, and it's consistent because all three of these Pokemon, what do they all have in common? They're going to beat the unholy hell out of your opponent. As you see here, this team is very, very powerful. However, you lose to Swampert, which can be a big oop. Also, Psychic types in the lead. You hate Psychic types because Confusion users will absolutely destroy you and give you a hard time. Shadow Champ is a beast lead. However, as you see here, there's a lot of core breakers. If I scroll down to the bottom, as you see, there's a ton of core breakers. If you see Swampert, it's probably your worst nightmare. You could try to bully your way through with Shadow Champ. However, Swampert does beat Machamp very comfortably as a Shadow just because it outpaces you with Hydro Cannon. At the same time, as you see here, Swampert being your biggest issue, Toxicroak has also become more popular just because of its XL. Toxicroak XL is a beast, it will run through you, and so does things like Alolan Raichu XL is actually even worse, because as you see Alolan Raichu in the back, can take out all three of your Pokemon just because of its Psych typing. Berserker can give you a chance, because Berserker does have Foul Play, however, it's still going to be really rough trying to take down Alolan Raichu with this team. As you see, this team has a high threat score, as with the Double Dragon team, just because of the fact that it pretty much it's out here to just do an obscene amount of damage and pray that the odds are in your favor. Not really. You could say so. Basically, your safe switch is Berserker XL, Break Shield, and then realign with Empoleon and Shadow Champ. The only issue is that, again, if you see Swampert lead, it's kind of really rough. At the same time, if you get the Confusion lead in the front, it's going to be very difficult for you. The reason why this team does very well against Confusion users is simply because you have Double Steel. So because you have Double Steel, you could Confusion, you're like, just safe switch into Berserker XL, and then take shields, etc. Or you could safe switch into Empoleon. It really is up to you. Well, this team is very powerful. It is the number 4 most powerful team on PV. Actually, number 3 most powerful team. I'm actually wrong. It is the number 3 most powerful team for Ultra Premier Cup Part 1. So it's really good. If you have Berserker XL, I would give this team a shot and practice with it. I think it could do really well in this meta. And this is the most powerful ABB team, sitting comfortably at number 3. Okay, so the team I mentioned to you before, I was right. It is number 4. This is number 3. So this is the number 3 most powerful team, and it is a triple XL team with Dark Double Steel. As in Umbreon, you take the biggest tank and you put 2 Gongs, well, Bronzong to be specific, the giant metal bird from the previous league, and all you do is you make it really thick and you make it level 50, and you know what you have. You have a smorgasbord of freaking Stardust that you probably spent. This team will cost you a heavy penny, 1.5 mil to be exact, and if you do have the candy to build this, I am very jealous because I don't have a Bronzong XL and I don't have a Skarmory XL. You can tell I play the game a lot, but I don't hunt a lot for these Pokemon because you need a nest for Skarmory XL, and for Bronzong, it's been out for quite a while. However, the weather has not been in my favor, so you know what? I ain't about that business. Anyways, enough about my woes. Here is the most powerful ABB team pre-Part 1, so I can expect it to change. However, I think this team is still really powerful. Umbreon XL is, in my opinion, one of the strongest XL Pokemon, just because it's so tanky. It can live through so much garbage. And what I mean by garbage is you could gunk shot it and barely, it does damage, but you'll be surprised at how much it has left. As you see here, this team is obscenely thick, a lot of bulk. Not a lot of coverage, but that's perfectly fine. Literally, because it has so much bulk, you can survive so many things, it's not even funny. As here, good safety and good consistency. This team is monstrous, and as you see here, that's a lot of X's in this meta, just because it's really that good. The thing about it is what's funny about it is that both of the back row here beat fighters. So if you say as you see here, if you get Machamp or Sirfetch'd in the lead, literally just if you throw Skarmory into it or Bronzong, they're gonna do well. Excavalier can give you a little bit of a hard time though. As you see here, Excavalier can give Bronzong a hard time. However, that's just because you have Drill Run. So as you see here, like, Skarmory is your safe switch. Bronzong XL is your, like, I'm pretty sure Skarmory XL is a safe switch. You could safe switch into Bronzong if you feel so, but I think Skarmory XL's, as you see here, because it beats so many combinations, it's definitely your safe switch. Break Shield with Skarmory XL, and then clean up with Umbreon and Bronzong. Umbreon can beat a lot of things down shield, just because of how thick it is. So if you have energy lead, your opponent's chipped down, one foul player last resort, or two might take it out. Very, very powerful. As you see here, this team doesn't have a lot of core breakers. Your worst nightmare is probably going to be your back row getting burned to death by a Typhlosion or a Talonflame. But in all honesty, it's not even that bad because all three of these Pokemon have a ton of bulk. Umbreon can run through Talonflame XL, so even though you see these, as you see here, Typhlosion, Umbreon can run through the fire type just fine. Same thing with Magnezone. Umbreon can foul play Magnezone to death. It can tank a few wild charges. How do I know? I've used it before and I was very impressed at its bulkiness. Other than that, the rest of you see here isn't likely going to impede you. You can take out Umbreon with, you could take out Empoleon. Umbreon beats so many things in the 2-shield, it's not even fair. So you should be fine against, as you see, even though, because this is a 0 and 1 shield center, it says it beats you. Technically, it doesn't. You can just run through this entire line. It's not likely you're going to see a Tyranitar. If you do, it has Bite. You probably could beat it with Umbreon. Yeah, if it's a Tyranitar with Bite, it could be very interesting. Other than that, Bronzong and Skarmory can do some work against the rest of the back. I would say your worst nightmare in this scenario is probably going to be Obstagoon because, yes, if it does resist Umbreon and Bronzong, so Obstagoon is probably going to be your worst nightmare of the team. Other than that, it does very well against the rest of the meta. If you see Obstagoon in the back, it might be okay, but if you do see in the lead, it can give you a problem because Obstagoon pretty much runs over Umbreon and Bronzong unless you have chip damage / shield advantage. But however, this team has a semi-high threat score, but you're not going to see a lot of your threats unless it's Obstagoon. So again, and like I said, if you catch it in the back, it's even better. But if you do see Obstagoon, safe switch into Skarmory and then try to clean up with the back row, hopefully Umbreon and Bronzong have enough to take out have very strong matchups against from the back, so you have energy lead and or shield advantage. But this team is obscenely thick, and I still think it's going to do really, really well. I've tested it a bit, and it does very well against the Ultra Premier Cup meta Part 1. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As you see here, ABB teams are very powerful. I think the top 3 in this list will actually do very, very well, even in the update. So when we see the update and it rolls over, if you like these teams, I think these ABB teams will do very, very well. The problem is just, I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but I think XLs are really bad for the game. Yes, it rewards people that grind, and people like me that have good areas and can kind of make up for the XL conundrum, but I don't think any person should have, I don't think they should be allowed. In other words, I think you should just let Great League be available the entire season. Because XL in Ultra League are, even though you can't beat them and they do have counters, it's no denying that they're super oppressive and they give an unfair advantage to those that don't have them. For example, Umbreon XL, before this second period where a lot of people got to put it together, if you had a good grinding spot and you grinded very heavily before, Umbreon XL got a lot of W's for you in Season 6. XL Obama Snow is also very powerful, so I made Legend using Obama Snow XL. But I still don't feel good about it because, again, I don't feel like we should have access to this, or there should be completely other separate league that do not allow XLs. Ultra Premier is a lot of fun because you don't have legendaries or mythicals. However, it's hard to say that legendaries and mythicals are the least of your problems now that XL Pokemon are out. Because things like XL Galvantula, XL Jellicent, XL Skarmory, XLs are just so powerful and they take an obscene amount of resources and time to get. Even in tournaments, if you do tournaments like I am, whoever's in Ultra League, if XL Pokemon are very, very powerful and they do really, really good in Open Ultra. So I don't, again, this is just me saying, if you do want to go into Ultra Premier, just expect to run into a bunch of XL Pokemon, especially now that a lot of people have had time to grind, use DFIT, or use Phone Rockers to get their XL candy for their XL Pokemon that they want to use for Ultra League. Just try to adapt, do the best you can. I will be doing budget teams, but again, XL Pokemon are very impressive, and if you don't have them, you're definitely at a disadvantage. Like I said, even though they have counters, that doesn't take out the argument that you're at a disadvantage if you don't have them. Good luck in your Go Battle League sets. I hope you guys are doing well. If you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe. I do like things like this all the time. I will do the best I can to make budget teams that are really effective still, and hopefully can help you out for Ultra Premier Part 1. This is Part 1, so again, when Part 2 comes out and they update, I can expect a lot of these teams to still be very powerful, so look out for that video. Good luck in your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.